give one more set of examples here. What I'd like to do is I'd like to find a range that corresponds to a given domain. So what's going to happen is we're going to be told, only look at this piece of the domain, and when we do that, what is the corresponding range? So for example, let's take a look because I think it'll make more sense. Suppose I want to find the range that corresponds to the given domain if our function is y equals 10 divided by the quantity x plus 3, and the domain we're going to use is negative 2 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 1. Or in other words, the x's between negative 2 and 1, including x is negative 2 and including x is 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to graph the function on my calculator. I'm going to use an x window where x min is negative 2 and x max is positive 1. And then I'm going to press a couple of keys on my calculator, which will make my life a whole lot easier. So I'm going to press the zoom key on the calculator, and then I'm going to choose option 0, which is zoom fit. So again, if I went on my calculator and I put y equals 10 divided by x plus 3 in my calculator, and then I went and on my window, I set my x to be negative 2, my x to be 1 for my min and my max, and I actually picked a delta x of being 1. And then I went off to the calculator, pressed zoom, and picked option 0, zoom fit. I'll get this graph. Now notice that I don't want to worry about what's happening off the ends of the screen. This is now restricted between negative 2 and 1 because that's the way it was given in the question. So now if I want to get the range, what I want to do is say, okay, how far down on that range does this go? And how far up on the range does this go? And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to get myself a color here to make it a little more obvious, is I notice, hey, look, its bottom y is whatever's going on at this endpoint, and its top y is whatever's going on at this endpoint. So it's relatively easy because the bottom y is actually when I'm at the far right, so that's actually happening when x is 10. And if I do that, well, not 10, when x is 1, I'm sorry. If I do that, y is then 10 divided by 1 plus 3, which is 10 over 4, or 2.5. And then the upper y is happening when x is negative 2. So when x is negative 2, that's going to give me 10 over negative 2 plus 3, or 10 over 1. And so that's going to give me 10. And so notice my range is going to go from 2.5 to 10. Because I had the equality here, I actually can equal those two endpoints, and so therefore I use the brackets on my interval notation. So let's take a look. I have a second example here. Let's take a look at our second example. I want to find the range that corresponds to the given domain. My function's y equals x multiplied by x minus 1 multiplied by x minus 4. And the domain I'm going to use is all the x's between 0 and 4, including 0 and including 4. Realize you don't have to multiply out that function, so when I put it in my calculator, I'm going to put it in my y equals exactly as it appears, x multiplied by x minus 1 multiplied by x minus 4 with the parentheses. And then remember, we make our x min again be 0. We go to our window, make x min be 0, x max be 4, and we're going to do zoom and then pick option 0, zoom fit. Again, at your leisure, I challenge you to go out and do that. And what should happen is you should get a graph that looks like this one. So again, I want the range. This is a little different because the top and bottom of the range are not the left and the right. Notice here's the bottom y. Get my pen here. Here's the bottom y right here, and here's the top y. So what I would do is I would, and really at this point the textbook's looking for approximate values, so you could use your trace key. Some of you are probably familiar with doing the min and the max on your calculator, using that off of the calc menu. So you could go and do that. At this point, really the textbook is doing a lot of just do your best to use the trace key and get the best values that you can. So when we do that, and you'll notice I picked kind of a slightly different window, because you'll say, well, wait a minute, that doesn't look like the values that are on there. My windows isn't going by ones. If I did that, what we should see is the lowest level is around -6, and the highest level is about 1, just a little under 1. Happens that it goes from about -6.063 up to about 0.879. And again, it touches those values. And so I'm going to put the brackets on, and that gives me, and again, an approximate answer. Usually I'm not quite that tricky. Usually I try to get ones that if you play around with the calculator, it ends up right on a value if we can possibly make that happen. So, okay, that concludes the section. And so now what you'll be able to do is go out and take a look at your homework with the section.